Hello everyone, I'm here today to discuss another video that was put out about me from 1Peterkim123 called Christ is Truth 1 Random Video Format. I wanted to go over his arguments. You may be surprised that the person who made the video is a child. It's obvious, you can tell. It's surprising to me that children today believe that they are the smartest people in the planet. And in fact, I've given him a thorough education along with Chinu Wow. So let's get started on this. And just a reminder, he's using bad logic. And what I find interesting is when you address this bad logic, nobody ever thinks of it as, oh, I should rethink my position. They never do that. So here he goes. Let's continue with this, or let's get started rather. So this is 1Peterkim123. This is a reply to you.
What the Christ is Truth one is trying to make past here is that he's saying that we don't understand the number of days, or how could Chinu Wow figure out the number of days it could have taken to create the earth. Because he says that how do you know that the earth was created in 6 days, and how do you know that it took octillion years to make the universe?
Now he says that here that I state we don't understand the number of days that it would have taken to create the earth. Now again, I must address my previous points again that I had made in my previous videos. We know by our time that according to our time it took 6 days, but God does not function according to time. It may have been in an instant. Why? Because we see in 2 Peter 3:8, but do not forget this one thing. Dear friends, with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. So how long did it take God to create the earth in our time? Well, according to God, 6 days. How long to God? We don't know, and there is no possible way to know. So also, I never asked how do they know it took 6 days. I never said that. I stated that we perceive it as 6 days. Now, how do they know how long it would take God to create the universe in octillion number of years, when the Bible states that to God 1,000 years is like a day, and a day is like 1,000? They don't know. There's no way to measure it mathematically.
Well, Mr. Christ is Truth, you have to think about this. For every single star in the universe, and every single galaxy, every single solar system, every single sun, it bigger and smaller than Earth. It took God 6 days to make the Earth. Exodus 20:11. If you read your own Bible of your own religion. Okay, back. So, I just watched the video over again, and he says, why octillion years? Well, I probably said this already, but, if it took God 6 days to create the universe, if you read your own Bible, then it will probably take, the same amount of time to make all the planets that have the same living conditions and size as planet Earth. But not only that, for every single star, for every single sun, for every single other planet in this, big universe that's infinitely expanding. Mind you, that's just a theory, but I'll go with it. But, God, well, gravity is a theory, But, getting a little off topic, but, this isn't really a serious video, it's just like a response video, because you can see I have some dubstep playing in the background, so I really don't give a fudge banana.
He goes on to say that since the universe is large, and if we can calculate that mathematically, that it took God 6 days to make the earth, then naturally it would take him an octillion number of years to create the universe. Again, allow me to quote 2 Peter 3:8, with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. So this begs the question to the self-proclaimed smartest kid in school, i.e. Peter Kim. Peter, how long did it take God to create the universe if God is not bound by time? So time, someone who's timeless. You can't do that. Remember, if 1,000 years is like a day and a day is like 1,000 years, how do you mathematically quantify that? You can't. There's no way. So the claim is logically invalid. He then goes off on some type of, I don't know, he's way out there. I mean, really, he doesn't even stay on topic. So he tries to validate himself that it took God 6 days to make our planet for every single star and for every single sun. Then it should take him that long. Again, God doesn't function by time. While it may have been 6 days to us, it may have been, and most likely was, an instant to God. What he's trying to do is put God or bound God to time. It can't be done. By definition, what he's trying to do, by definition, God is timeless. So again, the argument will not and does not stand. There is no reason why Peter Kim and Chinu Wao ask this question, because it assumes that God is bound by time. And second, it proves that they have no concept or understanding of God. So then he goes on about a rant about his background music and all that other stuff, and he's trying to quantify time with God, which doesn't work. So this is just it's a failed understanding of who God is. So let's continue with the video.
Basically, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day over Skype. He when I was talking to him about religion, because we like to mess around with each other a lot to make each other mad. But when we were talking about religion, I told him, why would it take? I asked him this question: why would it take God 6 days to create the earth, and then on the seventh day rest? That's not omnipotent, isn't it?
He then asks here, why would it take God 6 days to create the earth and then rest? That's not omnipotence. Now here Peter's having a problem with the definition of omnipotence. He's saying that creating a world in 6 days is not omnipotence. That begs this question, how does he know? He must know a good number of gods to say that. I mean, honestly, where does he get this idea from? You would have to, one, seen a planet get created in a much faster time by a more powerful God. Two, he would need to compare God's omnipotence to something far better, and he can't do that. Now, as far as the rest thing, Peter's thinking, oh, God was tired and he rested. That's not how or what rest means in the Hebrew text. The accurate translation for rest in Hebrew is Shabbat, which means to abstain or abstained. God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it because he abstained from all his work in which he had created. It also means that he ceased to perform all his creative work. So basically, God was finished. So let's continue with the rest of his argument.
Like, not like that, but it could be like, 6 days relative to God's, but, it doesn't say that in the Bible. It says 6 days. So obviously it must mean 6 days relative to us, right? I mean, I'm right here, right?
So then he says it could be 6 days relative to God. Time is not relative to God. Then he makes a more proper assessment and says, so it must mean 6 days relative to us, which would be more accurate and which would be what we're saying. So basically, he does understand it. He just doesn't want to admit it. So let's continue with the rest of his argument.
Or your Bible doesn't make sense, therefore your God doesn't make sense because they were made by cavemen, probably, back in the old times, who had no science to like find out anything. Just had their crazy own little stories and passed it around the fire like it was own.
He says the Bible doesn't make sense, therefore God doesn't make sense. This is just downright stupidity, folks. I'm sorry, but it is. I mean, to assert that because something doesn't make sense proves that the idea is senseless. There are plenty of things in life that don't make sense. That doesn't mean that the idea behind them is senseless. Logically, it could mean that you have a hard time making sense of it because you, Peter, fail to understand it. For example, math to many children does not make sense, but when studied and led by the right teacher, one can come to understand it. What atheists commonly do is take their own understanding and try to reason it out. You can't. There's a difference between reading the Bible and understanding the Bible. It's obvious Peter just reads it and believes he understands it. I mean, you could do the same with Shakespeare. And he then pulls out blind assertions from thin air. The Bible could have been made by cavemen who had no knowledge of science and made up crazy stories to pass around the fire. Okay, here's where he shows his failure to think critically. We know that the Bible has over 40 authors. We know that we have more original copies than any other historical document ever written, and far less in between years, almost 20 to 30 years. While the next closest is Herodotus with over 500 years from its original copies. And not only that, these cavemen must have been really intelligent. They knew about geography, history, and science. In a time when every other religion and people believed the earth was a flat rock or was held by some entity, the Bible claims the earth is suspended on nothing and by nothing, and they were right. So his argument about maybe it was cavemen is just an excuse, objection for denial. So let's keep going with this.
Um, Basically, what I'm trying to say is, religion was made by people back in caves, and it was set to a moral standard. It would be like, the laws, basically like in the Bible, with the rape thing and the marriage thing and the younger brother married the widow thing and the concubines thing. But the thing is, Christ is truth. Here's another point I have to bring up. Do you even realize that your Bible is like super sexist? God, Adam came first. Women created sin. Women have to suffer a lot of pain.
So here are another blind assertions from thin air. He says, religion was made by people back in caves, and it sets their moral standards. Okay, people, as well as I do, this isn't true. These are just false assumptions he could even prove if he was paid to do it. I find this point ironic coming from a subjective moralist. He says that the Bible is sexist, then brings up this so-called examples. God created Adam first. Question, wouldn't he say the same thing if God created woman first? In fact, he would probably say that God was a womanizer because he created woman first and not men. See, he's coming up with all kinds of excuses to demonize the Bible. He then makes the bold claim that the Bible states that women created sin. The Bible never makes that claim. And I would like to challenge him to show me where it makes this claim. He can't, because it doesn't exist. The Bible never says the woman created sin. So he's not only wrong, he's lying. He says that women have to suffer in pain to give birth. What he fails to realize is that this is a consequence. God did not do this to be sexist or mean, so he fails there. But let's continue. You know what, folks? I'm going to go ahead and end it there for time reasons. I will come back later today, hopefully, most likely, with the second part to his argument, because there's a little bit more, and it'll probably be a shorter video. But I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to end this one here as part one of my refutation of Peter Kim. I hope you all enjoyed it, got some valuable information from it, and we'll see what happens. We'll see you all in a little bit. God bless.